welcome to 6 Questions in 6 Minutes. This is a video series where I ask 6 questions to public historians and they have 6 minutes to answer them. Wonder if any of them can actually answer 6 questions in 6 minutes. Let's be honest, they won't. New title! 6 Questions in 6 Minutes-ish. So I decided to start this series in May 2020, in the middle of the COVID-19 worldwide lockdown. That means that my options for my first guests are limited. They're very limited. In fact, the only public historian who is actually available right now is this guy. What are you wearing? What's wrong with it? You look stupid wearing a hat indoors. I think it makes me look distinguished. It doesn't. Lose it. Fine. Better. Yes. Okay, here's the first question. I'm sure you can handle it. Who are you? I'm Jean-Pierre, historian with Crown Indigenous Relations and Northern Affairs Canada in Ottawa, Ontario. How did you end up where you are? I initially joined the department just a few weeks after finishing my master's degree in Canadian history from the University of Ottawa in 1999. The following year, I actually joined a directorate that was working on historic treaties signed between Indigenous peoples and the British and Canadian governments as an actual treaty historian. By about 2008, my field of research expanded to encompass the entirety of the 250-year administrative history of Indigenous affairs in Canada. Today, I work with a team of 2 other historians as we try to map out the entire history of our department. What's the nature of your work? The work really breaks itself down into 3 broad categories. First, we do traditional historical research on various topics, searching through archives and secondary sources, writing up reports, pretty typical historian's craft work. We also do a fair amount of what's called public awareness work. This is fairly wide-ranging. It includes giving presentations on historical topics, preparing content for the department's website, and even working on exhibits and supporting commemoration events. Our research unit is actually embedded in a policy shop, so we actually support the various policy initiatives of the department. We provide historical analysis and help write up the contextual pieces that are part of the broader policy documents. What do you enjoy most about your work? Like many people, I really like trying to figure out how things work. And in the world of history, for me, that really means figuring out how institutions and organizations have grown and evolved. The fact that I get to work on the administrative history of one of the oldest institutions in North America, for me, is really cool, despite the really heavy nature of the topic. The world actually needs more administrative history. What's the biggest challenge in your work? I'd say that the biggest challenge in my work is making sure that the historical research that we do is presented in a way that's really relevant to support the policy and program development of our department. We always have to remember that the long and complicated answers that have all those juicy parts of historical analysis aren't really the most appropriate ones for our colleagues. We have to compress that information into packets that work for their needs. And with issues as complex as Indigenous settler relations, that's always a really big challenge. What keeps you motivated? A lot of people find that the topics that I deal with to be very hard and uncomfortable. We're talking about decisions and actions that were designed to destroy Indigenous societies. This makes people very uncomfortable. Many believe that all of this heavy history shouldn't really matter to them in this modern day or in any of the work that they actually do. For them, this is all part of the past, and it isn't actually their fault, so why should they have to take it into account? Unfortunately for them, this really isn't how things work. The history of my department's actions has a direct impact on why things are the way they are today. And it's often very frustrating when I see people constantly dismissing the need to understand why things are the way they are. But when I see that one person starting to make those connections, and that they start to realize that this historical context matters, that's really where I find my motivation, because that's when I know that we're actually starting to make change. Well, that wasn't actually half bad. Thanks, I guess. All right, that's all from us. See you next time when we ask another public historian 6 questions in 6 minutes-ish.